Welcome back to Bench Points. And if this is your first time here, welcome. You're welcome to the bench. If you don't know who we are three dudes, three dads, three husbands, three buddies having a college basketball podcast. And we have some outrageous takes, but also we might get a thing right every once in a while. But ultimately, we love college basketball, and we hope that we can increase your fandom, even if it's just by a little bit, that we've done our job. And so for tonight, we're going to deep dive into the Louisville versus Tennessee game, which was an incredible game. I was able to be there. Fun game, big game for Tennessee. Louisville was missing their star player with Mikel Brown. We needed to see him, I feel like, for Louisville to really stand out, but I also feel like Tennessee handled business. So, guys, what did you think about the game? What were your thoughts?
So we were chatting the entire time. Brad obviously was a little less responsive, given that building went from quiet as a church mouse to probably as loud as Mackey Arena in the Breslin Center for a stretch there in the second half. And I posted about this earlier. Mikel Brown or however the hell you say it, fantastic player, unfortunately was out for Louisville. Not 100% sure if it would have mattered. I think this came down to who had the better game plan, and Barnes put together a scheme that took Louisville completely out of what they wanted to do. I mean, this is the number 2 offense in KenPom, is that correct? Or was
somewhere there.
And they were absolutely shut down. I mean, 38% from the field, 21% from 3 on 34 attempts. Louisville just didn't have it, and I think they didn't have it because Tennessee took it away. When Tennessee plays like this, like, they can beat anybody. They can beat Houston. They can beat Kansas, who they lost to. They should have beat Syracuse playing like this, but they didn't. Nate Ament came to play a little bit, especially in the second half, but what really sealed the deal on this game was that kill shot about 4 or 5 minutes into the second half. I mean, it was like 4 straight threes, and they were loud threes. And you could just see the quit in the Louisville players. I think like they flirted with making it a 12, 13-point game a couple times, but then like Tennessee would just go on these like 7-8-0 runs that would just push it back out to 20, and it was just over. So all credit to Tennessee Vols here. Obviously, Louisville not having Mikel Brown is a big difference, but I don't think it's a 21-point swing difference. This is a game that Tennessee needed, and you could tell right off from the jump that they wanted it more. I think they led this one pretty much the entire time. Louisville had a 2-point lead at one point, and then Tennessee had a 25-point lead. So it was wire to wire almost.
Yeah, I was very excited to see Tennessee's offense look like they knew what we were doing. Ament finally looked good. He was making some better decisions. He was also doing a lot of really good things offensively with his shot. And it showed. He went 5 of 2 of 3s. He was efficient. Gillespie was on fire as usual. Like, Kerr played very well. I was kind of shocked to see Estrella only get 9 minutes out of that. Bird finally hit some outside shots. He's still very sloppy with the ball. And I mean, we had 11 turnovers. That's not great. That's not terrible. But we have 416, so that helps out. But I'm still Tennessee kills me because we're still a 1.5 horse team, or maybe 2, depending on what Kerry's doing. Dwayne Brown starts 0 points. Akpara took only 5 shots. Boswell took 5 shots and had 5 points. And I mean, the free throws are still subpar. We missed 10 free throws. I feel like I'm nitpicking at a 20-point win, but
I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited to not be on the 4-game losing streak. I thought the defense played great. Very physical, took Louisville out of everything they wanted. Those threes were not anywhere what they wanted to see. I mean, McKinley couldn't get open. Cronwell, I mean, he scored 22, but he was very inefficient 22. He took 13 threes, hit 4 of them, and took 6 shots inside the lane. Like, he was not great that night, and that's what helped it. I mean, I don't know how much Mikel Brown changes that, because he's a little bit like playing with fire. It's either going to heat your house or burn it down. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just typical freshman stuff with that. With a superstar talent that likes to shoot the ball like he does. I was just ecstatic that we pulled this off at home, because it was looking very dismal coming into this game.
Yeah, there were a couple moments, I'll let Brad take over here in just a second, where I was texting you guys and like watching the game very, very closely. And based on some of the things you guys were saying, I was like, man, Tennessee might be down 25 points here. But I was like, were you guys watching the same thing I am? But yeah, Brad, share us your experience. What was it like in that building?
Well, it was evident, and I leaned over to my buddy and I said, "Do you not feel like every time Nate touched the ball, it's like everybody wanted to will something magical to happen? Like everybody was just waiting for it to happen. I mean, I think the fan base is still behind him, but they're just ready to see it. And I will say, and we've already heard this, Jake, your dad had talked about this. Nate Ament is built different. Seeing him in person, it's like he added 10 pounds of muscle when you see him in person. He is broad and he is big. I mean, he is built to be a basketball player. We just need to see him perform that way. And I think there's definitely a glimpse of that last night. And just his interaction on the bench as well when he was out, with a little bit of foul trouble there in the first half, very engaged. He's not one of those guys where he's the star. He's the one making all the money. You can just tell he's a very humble kid. And I think Coach Barnes loves him. But Coach Barnes was on his butt all night long, just like he's everybody. He's not. I think that's really a neat thing that you can just tell that Nate doesn't carry himself as a hot shot, and he hasn't really played like it, so I understand that too. But I still have hope for this kid to really do something special this year. There's still a lot of ball to be played. I also feel like that I came to a realization that I don't know that our players, I mainly meaning our bigs, know how to play with somebody like Nate. I think there's a lot of times where we clog up the floor, and I think Jalen Carey does that, and because he kind of clogs things up at times. And Felix he doesn't have that acceleration where he can get out of Nate's way when he's trying to penetrate and do some ISO. But I also understand that you have to create a lot of things for yourself, and I feel like Nate really showed that last night, getting to the basket and coming in strong and seeing what he could do with it.
Yeah, I saw a little bit of that lane clogging a little bit, especially with Kerry. But the mentality I saw Kerry have in that game was like, I want board. Like he was just like he knew 3 words, I want board. And he was getting rebounds. And for a game that, was, I think, decided by like 3 or 4 rebounds over the entire game. I don't have the box score in front of me, but those were 10 loud rebounds that he got. And the one thing, and like, I agree with you 100%. Nate Ament is built like an NBA player. Like he needs that, just like, God, I hate to quote 2000s WWE here, but he needs some ruthless aggression. Like he just needs to get in there and battle and use his body. Like that's the one thing I'll say this, because I made a comparison preseason with Nate Ament. Was I think him and Gillespie had the potential to be a Braden Smith TKR combo, and where TKR was finesse last year and had a lot of traits similar to Nate Ament, this year he is like just absolutely ruthless on the boards. And if Nate Ament did that, we would be having completely different conversations about this kid, especially with in the conversations with all these freshmen like Mikel Brown, like Darren Peterson, like Cameron Boozer, Jada Vansa. This is one of the best classes in the world, and he's flying under the radar. Like the skills are all there. He just needs to use that body and really get in there and board and bang with those guys.
And I think when Rick Barnes would let him have all that and all the space, and wouldn't he get us clogged if he proved he could do it. But right now, I mean, Barnes has got to play to win games, and right now he's not trustworthy enough yet. So that's why you end up with, I mean, Kerry has 12 points on 4 of 6 shooting, and I mean, if he could hit free throws, the guy would be averaging 20 points a night. And the reason he's getting the claim late is because he's aggressive, he wants that ball, and he can be trusted around the bucket. And I mean, the same thing with Gillespie. I mean, like you're seeing Gillespie getting to do whatever he wants on the floor. And the offense is being like, anytime he's not bringing the ball up, he's been able to run off all the screens and stuff because he's proven that he can do it. Give a couple more games that are going in this direction for Ament, and I think you'll start to see some lineups with him at the 4 and with Akpara or Estrella out there, and kind of go get a little more loose, get a little more space, get a little more transition, because I think that's where he will absolutely thrive. But you got to play to win the game, so you can't, like, right against Louisville, like maybe you do this against Joe Blow State, but against Louisville you can't be like, okay, let's see if you can really run the open floor. And I mean, one thing that came out of this game that I was very pleasantly happy with was if Evans can figure out how to not foul on defense, there's a lot of game to that kid. And I mean, his shot looks great. He was perfect from the floor, and I mean, he's aggressive on defense, and that's part of the issue. He's a little too aggressive. He's got to learn to harness that. But I mean, 7 minutes, 7 points, hit his only 3, fouled out of the game. So I think I was And I really didn't know that dude could float like that. I mean, like when he jumped, it felt like he stuck in the air. And
Yeah.
I was like, that looks like a lot of fun here in a year or two when he figures out how to not play defense and not foul everywhere. I think there's some exciting plays that happen out of him.
Well, Coach Barnes even said in his post game, he's like, yeah, he fouls in the game and he fouls in practice. Like he's like he played just like he practices. I mean, he's like, and we're working on it, and it's evident. I mean, I think I'm with you. I'm excited to see what he can do. But back to something you said, Jake, about not giving Nate like that the keys per se. I also feel like that he didn't capitalize on McKinley being the main person. Like when McKinley was on him, that was a prime mismatch that I wanted Nate to take more advantage of. I feel like he could have been more aggressive and recognizing that because just one dribble, I feel like when he was in his actions, he could have smoked him, but he just didn't see it. He wasn't looking for it. And I don't know, I might just be nerding out about it, but McKinley couldn't stand a chance against Nate Ament. Nothing against that kid, but there's just no way. And so I kind of wanted to see more, but Gillespie loves playing for this team. He loves playing for Tennessee. It's very evident. That part was really cool to see. And there's still a lot of former Vols that were there. Ron Mayman was there, which was cool. They recognized Falky, and so everybody went nuts for him. Of course, it was a really fun. It was a cool night. Not a lot of students. Well, actually, no, there were a lot of students. They just weren't as rowdy as normal, just because it's finals week, and hopefully they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. But it was still it was an unbelievable environment, great atmosphere, great game, huge win for Tennessee, no doubt.
Monster win.
Yeah, I
And
think
they've got two very, very loud wins this year with Houston and Louisville.
Oh yeah.
So
was this a must win? I think we talked about that last week. It feels like it now just because we got it, but I can't imagine what our feelings would be if we had lost it.
If we would have lost, I'm not saying the tournament was in doubt, but any success in the tournament would have been very, very doubtful. Winning this shows, and the way you want it to, shows, okay, like maybe that win over Houston team is still in there and we can pull them out. Like, I think Final Four and all that is way, way back on that. But Sweet 16 again, and then if you're in the Sweet 16, like you got a chance. Like we can get a chance to dance here. This is kind of what we're looking for, catching fire. I don't think we're going to be good enough to deserve to be the Final Four, but it's one of those that you could catch fire enough to get there maybe. And we're keeping that hope alive. And really, we did our work in the non-conference to get a top 6 seed. Now it's just holding on to it and letting some other people fall that might get us up to like a 3. I think that's the cap right now is a 3, unless something crazy happens in the SEC.
Yeah, that was definitely a seed win. That's lose that game and your hope of a 2 or a 3 are completely out the window. And
I think you're looking at 7
as a 4 winning that game. I mean, you still 2 is still attainable right now, likely a 3 or 4, but you're still going to be in that top 16. And that's exactly the sweet spot you want to be in going into March. And we've talked about this a million times, where you're at in December, ultimately doesn't matter, but in November and December is where you really build your resume when you go into conference play. And the SEC, and I'm watching Memphis and Vanderbilt right now. That's why I keep turning my head over. The SEC might not be as strong as we thought it was, but there's still plenty of quad 1 games there. And if Tennessee can play like this, I think they have an outside shot to win the SEC. And SEC conference win is gonna bolster your resume too. So just some stuff to keep in mind. Like these big wins definitely pay dividends in the long run.
Yeah, I mean, we still got a bunch of humans in the room deciding, and the SEC is going to mean more than it should. Because, right now, both SEC teams are struggling. You've got Alabama with a 7-point lead and Memphis with a 2-point lead. Like, it's not Memphis, Vandy with a 2-point lead. It's not like everybody's dominating everything.
Yeah, I've got to do a quick interruption. Vanderbilt had an 11-point lead here in the second half, and they are completely melting down. Memphis has cut this to 2. I think Vanderbilt, I'm going to check the box score here in a little bit. I think they've got to be well into the double digits in turnovers, probably like 12 or 13 at this point. And this is the Memphis team that gave Purdue fits. This isn't the Memphis team that's lost 4 other games to other teams. Like they're using their physicality, giving them fits. Sorry for the interruption, but it's just one of those things, like a it's like a car wreck. I can't take my eyes away from what's happening to Vandy. That is very high in the net, very high in KenPom, very high on like a lot of people's radar right now.
Well, go ahead.
I'm looking this up. It's about to be a tie game.
It is.
Memphis has 14 turnovers. We can keep this because I'm gonna keep rolling. Memphis has 14 turnovers, but they don't seem as loud as what Vanderbilt's turnovers are right now.
Mm-hmm.
No, Memphis is
Eyeball game.
playing okay for Memphis team.
Yeah, they're 100% imposing their physicality here. Both teams are going to be in the bonus. It's 12 minutes and 40 seconds left in the second half. Vandy has 5 fouls. Memphis has 6 fouls. They're both going to be in the bonus here within the next 2 minutes based on the way they're all playing. This is crazy. This is the kind of games I like watching. It's 40-40. Neither team is scoring at an impressive clip here, but it is just gritty basketball, and I love it. I hate this Memphis team just because of the way they play, but Memphis just took the lead. I'm sorry. We're doing live. So no, we're going to keep it. You do you.
Well,
coach is giving Jake a talking to along with his son. He's plugging all of this stuff. So we'll keep rolling. Brad, what do you want to go into next?
Well, one thing I wanted to mention is that there was something, Knoxville's a pretty friendly place ultimately, but I will say that I don't think Pat Kelsey is going to be on anybody's fandom here in Knoxville. That the crowd kept chirping at him the entire time. And he was a little bit, he's boisterous. He's a boisterous guy. That delay of game call that he was begging for in the first half. He was losing it half the time. And then, or was it in the second half? I can't remember.
In the second half, he's a spitfire.
He is more than I thought.
And that's part of the reason why I love him, because I love to see that emotion out there. It's like Bruce Pearl sweating through the jacket, slamming it down and all that. Like, I love that, but it's going to create a lot of fans that are going to go at you and all that, I think that's part of it. I think that makes it fun. That gives your coaches personality. Because I don't want a bunch of guys buttoned up suits over there going,
Exactly.
And you don't like, I like when Shire's getting into them. I like when Coach K used to slam chairs. I like when Bob Knight used to throw them.
Yep.
It's, there's a ton of
Pretty
fun,
sure.
like, to have a coach with personality out there. This is fucking miserable. Okay. Mac is supposed to be asleep, and it's killing me. He's reaching for everything that he can't have.
Well, and they were also, the fans were, and Knoxville's a pretty educated crowd, I must say.
We'll disagree there. I think most people have no clue what basketball is besides it's round and it goes into a hole.
Enough to know that there were 2 officials on the court that everyone hates, which is Dunk Shows and Pat Adams on the same floor. When I walked in and saw that it was them, I'm like, this could be an issue.
Well, honestly, I didn't have an issue with the officiating in that game.
It really wasn't that bad. It was honestly way better than I thought it would be. They did call. I mean, they liked their reviews.
Yeah,
that's my biggest issue with them is that, like, they're never confident until they see it twice.
Correct, but I mean, there were numerous people like hollering at them by name, but that which was fun. But
I didn't like the flagrant. I forget who got it. It was like on a screen. I hated that call because I was like, what was he supposed to do? Like, it wasn't. Like, even the guys calling the game, I forget who it was on TV, didn't think it should have been rose to the ability of a flagrant, and they still gave it to him because we panic anytime an elbow slightly grazes a chin. Now,
that's right.
That's just so foreign to me because I was taught growing up, you get the rebound and you chin it and then you clear out some space.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That's how I was taught to play basketball. And now that is extremely illegal. That would get you tossed out of a game.
Yeah. Well, but then Pat gave us he had a charge call on the next possession, so I felt fine about it, but I was stewing there for a moment, that's for sure. But yeah, great game, great time, great win. But we've got to talk about the slow starts for some of these teams. It's been it's a trend, it's a thing.
It is definitely.
It's everywhere.
I've talked about this multiple times, and I've actually been on some subreddits and some YouTube comments. Not a turnover by Vanderbilt, by the way, and Memphis is up for. Anyway, Purdue, for example, slow starts, almost set your clock to it. A team that, they could beat nearly anybody in the country by 15, 20 points if they came out of the gates hot, but they don't. And it's been frustrating for me to watch. Well, last night, watching some of these college basketball teams that we talk about and we love so much, I've got 4 examples of teams that should have absolutely dominated their matchups, but in the halftime, we were all asking questions to each other, and we were talking about Duke, for example. Duke with Lipscomb, they were down 10 at one point, and in the second half, they were down like relatively early in the half before Cam Boozer decided the game was over. Duke had 22 turnovers against a 6-5 Lipscomb team. There was never a point in the game where you felt like Duke was going to lose, but there was also never a point where you felt like Duke was going to play well.
Right.
And that game, obviously it played out where it was relatively tight until it wasn't. Texas Tech, same deal. They were playing Northern Colorado, and there was a point with 2 minutes left where we were texting each other, like, is Texas Tech going to blow this game? And then fortunately for them, they had Watt show up, which we've talked about multiple times with this Texas Tech team, that if it's not Christian Anderson and JT Toppin, it's got to be somebody else. And in this case, it was Watts, because Anderson did his typical thing, 14 points. Atwell contributed 10. JT Toppin had 23 and only 3 rebounds. That was a crazy little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But then Watts came in with 36. They got 14 from Petty. And that was a pretty balanced game for them, but it was like playing with their food here. Same thing. UConn came out of the gate slow. We're kind of getting bullied a little bit early by Butler. One note I've got about this UConn team, as I still am really, really high on them. They have a clear path to a 1 line. The frustrating thing for me is they've got an absolute star in Braylon Mullins. Braylon Mullins can figure out how to not foul. Like I was talking to his uncle, who I happen to work with today, and I told him, I was like, look, as a Purdue fan who does not like the UConn basketball team for what they did to us in the national championship game a couple of years ago, I would like to see Braylon Mullins be in the NBA next year. But I think that kid could serve another year in college basketball to get some better development, because he's got some learning to do. Kid's got star potential, though. But this UConn team, again, not what I expected out of this Butler. I just went and talked about 3 teams there. I apologize and went on a rant. Jake, take it away.
I mean, you can even see the slow start thing happen tonight. Alabama has got a 2-point lead on South Florida.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you remember me telling you in the beginning of the year, South Florida is not a team you want to screw around with. There's a lot of talent there. That had a very unfortunate situation happen. Now Hodgson's a good coach out of the Nate Oates tree, so it's kind of fun to see this. I still think Alabama runs away within the second half, but like Texas Tech, man, what happened to that defense? Giving up 90 points here. You have having to score 100 to feel in control, like slightly in control of that game. And I mean, you've seen Houston struggle slow. St. John's comes out slow. Like, it's across the board. And I think this is going to be a common thing with teams that Purdue shocks me because it kind of goes against this, but with teams that are either built fully from the transfer portal or depending on freshmen, because you've got guys that are new to everything, learning it all, like at this team, and so it just takes them a minute to get going. And if you've not played at somewhere for a couple of years, it takes a minute to get the feel of the arena, of where you're playing, who you're playing, how you're playing them under this new coach with these new teammates. And it takes a minute, and especially with these freshmen, with the way AU ball and everything is now, man, there's no real competition for those guys. It's all showing off skills. And so the first time they get into a big matchup every time, it's going to take them a second to get their footing, because they're not used to not being the greatest player on that side of the floor on both sides of the floor and for the next 2 counties over. And so that's where you see, I mean, Boozer struggles with fouls. Mullins struggles with fouls. Nate Ament struggles with fouls. Because if you're the best athlete every time, every floor you step on, or top tier, the chances of somebody getting by you where you need to reach or have to struggle to get in the way is not happening. Like, you're just able to out athlete them, and that's just part of it. When you're that good, it's so hard for high school and AU coaches to teach you defense and positioning, because you can get there late every time, and you don't have to worry about getting there on time or like perfect timing.
Yeah,
swatting at every shot.
100% agree with what you just said there. The comment about Purdue on their slow starts, one of it, I think, is part of it is shooting. The aggregate of what Purdue does usually meshes out or maths out. They're going to be about 40% from the 3-point line, and they're going to wind up being 50% from the floor. But it's like one of those things where it's like the game just doesn't feel like locked in until they do that kill shot midway through the second half. And I think that was what was ultimately missing that Iowa State game, is that they never got that kill shot. They just stayed cold. And that, to your comment about being the best athlete on the floor, I almost feel like that's what's kind of happened with Oscar Clough. Oscar Clough was like used to being the absolute man from South Dakota State. And then he comes into Purdue and he's there with TKR. He's there with Braden Smith. He's there with Fletcher Lawyer. He's the fourth look on that team. And the first like 6 or 7 games, you just saw him kind of like, I want rebound, right? I want board, and was kind of doing okay at that. But now he's kind of like worked into that, like, okay, I'm just going to feed off of what is being, if they're going to take away TKR, then I'm going to step in. If they're going to take away the guards, then TKR is going to get that post look and that dump down that works for him and DJ. But yeah, so like the concerning part for me with especially these top teams, like you don't really, like you saw this a little bit with Michigan, where they had some issues with Maryland
and Wake Forest.
Until like the last 5-10 minutes of that game. They had some issues with Wake Forest, TCU, but it wasn't like so much slow. It was more like they couldn't take care of the ball.
Right.
The team that I've noticed that never really gets off to a slow start, it's just kind of like a level. And I think this is what's going to translate into March, is Arizona. And I hate saying that because I was the biggest Arizona hater, but I went back and watched some tape. I can't remember a time outside of my first managerial experience at work where I've been more wrong in my entire life about a team. So apologies to the basketball gods and the fans of Arizona, but teams like Duke, Purdue, Texas Tech, Alabama, UConn to an extent, watch some game film on Arizona, learn how to get off to a decent and consistent start, because I think that's the piece some of these teams are missing.
And I think a lot of that goes to Bradley, like the way he controls that team and gets it going. Like Duke's issue has been called out from the very beginning, and I wasn't the only one. The guard play is just not there. Like Isaiah Evans can score, but he's not a guard you're going to run through things on, and so that's going to mean you're going to have times where you struggle on offense, because like anytime your best player is a guy that is inside, you've got to have good guard play to get him the ball. Otherwise, he's getting the ball out of position and having a hard time. But like you've got a bunch of guards in right now, and that's just how it works and how the NBA works too, where they're score first and they're not control the offense. Like I'm not Pettiford because he plays at Auburn, but he's one of them too. Alabama guard, very good.
Pylon.
He's been forced to score a little bit because the team is not scoring the way it needs to. But like them, I mean, and that's why it still kind of shocks me with Purdue, because they've got a true point guard to get them going. There's like Tennessee, Gillespie's in a full-on scoring role. They don't really have somebody control the offense, and that's why that struggles. And that's why Louisville's kind of up and down. There's a lot of things that a true point guard, somebody can control your offense, does for you, that a lot of these teams are missing, because the way basketball is going is positionless, and that kind of hurts this more, where college basketball is not the NBA is, where it's more of a team game, offensive like sets being run versus isolation and kind of things.
Yep. I will say this about Purdue, and it's just kind of a callback to one of the things I said back when we started this podcast, is I don't think you're going to see a National Player of the Year come out of Purdue with this team, because like Braden Smith doesn't have to go out and score 16 every night. TKR doesn't have to go out and score, 16 to 24 points a night. Fletcher Lawyer doesn't have to score, 15 to 20 points a night. They need a balanced attack, and that's what's working for this team. The Rutgers game, for example, I remember that they tried to do this thing where they slowed the game way down, and I just remember thinking, it's like, that's exactly what Purdue wants you to do. Like they want you to be slow. They might make you be slow, but like it's one of those things where they're like, you want to run the shot clock down? Okay, fantastic. We're going to go down and do the same thing, except you're going to get 0.9 points per possession, and we're going to get 1.25. So, and eventually the math's going to math out. So back to Alabama, they were just down to University of South Florida, and they just took the lead back. So just something to keep on the radar. I don't know how to feel about Alabama anymore. I want to be more confident about them, so it makes Purdue's win look a lot better. It's actually making Arizona's win a lot better because they 20-pieced them. So I don't know what to feel about them right now.
I mean, this is also a weird time for basketball. Like these, especially younger guys, or finals week is tough. No matter what you study, they're like, and how much you pay attention. Finals week can get tough, and it can take some time. And so all the studying that you got to do to get through it, so balancing out your time, and maybe you're more mentally exhausted than you normally are. So. And those students kind of zaps the atmosphere a little bit. So this is the kind of time you can see, like, it makes sense for these little slow starts, but it's just the slow starts have been happening all year throughout the bit. I mean, that's why, like, big reason why the number 3 spot's been cursed. Duke was just able to pull it out at the end and make it look like they didn't struggle and get behind double digits to a team that might make the tournament, but definitely is nowhere near an at-large bid.
Well, and BYU is I feel like one of the poster childs of this as well. Let me talk a little bit about that last week. But speaking of Alabama, it is kind of cool that Alabama and Oklahoma are playing each other in football, and that's the game that we went to the first time.
How about that?
I know.
Switch out.
Yeah, exactly.
If it plays out anything like the first game, Alabama ain't got a shot in hell because they looked outclassed.
Yeah, that was a wild game. Fun game, but wild. All right. So listen, Saturdays, they got a decent slate of games. So let's go ahead and kind of chat about those. And this one may not be on everyone's radar, but I think it should be, because I think both of these teams need this win, and that's St. John's in Kentucky. But this is a really good game that should be a good game. And if it's not, it is that'll be a pretty big disappointment in my opinion.
Look, I'm not one to take any quotes out of context here, but Mark Pope was challenging Pitino to who's going to wear the best suit. Hey, Pope, I'd worry less about the suit and more about getting your team ready, because you're 7-4 right now, and St. John's is as desperate as you guys are for a win, and your best win right now is against Indiana. So I'd focus less on the suit and more about getting these guys ready. It sounds like Acquaintance might play. Is that what we're hearing?
That would be shocking to me, and I don't.
Lowe's going to play.
Yeah, I wouldn't like him playing in this one, because this game's going to have a lot of pace to it and a lot of cutting, and you're really going to check that ACL repair in this one. I would try to find a slower game to bring him in a little bit.
Yeah, I am hearing a possibility of him playing. Now, this is like deep into a subreddit. Lowe is going to play on this game, and I think that's going to make a huge difference for this Kentucky team. I think I'm with Brad on this one. I think both of these teams need this win. I think this is why I have such a problem with what Pope said. I think Pope was making light of a very serious situation with his team. Mm-hmm. Now, obviously, this is a better look than the doom and gloom Mark Pope that we saw for a couple weeks after some major losses. But this Kentucky program still looks disjointed. Genuinely don't care about your probably going to wind up being quad 2 win against Indiana. You need to win this game to start getting on the Nets radar, to start getting back on the analytics radar here, so that you can start building your tournament resume. Because if you start squandering these quad 1 opportunities, it's not going to look good for you in March.
Yeah, this is game.
Same thing with St. John's. Same thing with St.
This game's going to be very interesting, because it's going to come down to like turnover-ish. And what's wild, I mean, these teams are ranked 18th and 19th in KenPom. Kentucky is like, and I know a lot of, like, so it's hard to read into these, because Kentucky's got some issues turning the ball over, but also they haven't had their low play. A lot of he's been hurt. Their point guard play has been injured, and not real point guards handling the ball. It's just, St. John's is not a team I want to test that out on. I lean St. John's in this game, even though it's a little bit longer travel spot, but I just like their offense better than Kentucky's. I think Kentucky's has to have a lot of help from either missed shots or turnovers, and that's just not, like, St. John's has a little bit of the turnover issue, but I don't know that Kentucky's also big on forcing them yet. So I think St. John's wins this matchup, but I think it's a tight and very interesting game. It's a great way to kick off the Saturday with a 12:30 start.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then after a quick look here, according to the Field of 68, he's not been ruled out. He's not been ruled out to play on Saturday. So, but it doesn't say that he is playing. He's just not been ruled out yet.
Yeah, if you're
past 2 days. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, my mental unwind at work sometimes is like taking 15, 20 minutes and diving deep into a subreddit about a game I'm interested in. And so like you find out some information that a lot of people don't have or probably shouldn't have. Like how, like, I think when we were in Tuscaloosa, I was like, hey, just heads up, TKR is playing. And they're like,
Yeah.
well, it hasn't been announced yet. And I was like, yeah, he's playing.
No,
Typically, subreddits like get some access to some information. You just have to know where to look and do some deep dives. But right now it's a hard maybe. So take it for what it is. Another game that I'm really looking forward to on Saturday, and this is before the one that we're going to go to, which we'll talk about here in a little bit, Houston, Arkansas.
absolutely. I think this could end up being a rock fight, or it really just, there's a lot of things. There's a lot of ways that this could go, but I almost feel like, and this is going to be, is this on a neutral floor?
Yes. This is the Never Forget Tribute Classic.
New Jersey. So like, I don't know that anybody's got the advantage there.
Ooh, see, I didn't realize when I saw this on the schedule, I didn't realize that it was a neutral site. That changes things a little bit.
Yeah. Just a heads up, ESPN has this as a 73% favorite, or no, 78% favorite for Houston. And I'm not sure how I feel about that because right now Arkansas is playing some pretty decent basketball.
Yep. Unfortunately,
I also think they've also taken advantage of some matchups. I think this will be let's really see how good like Acuff and Thomas have been great, and Brazil has been a little bit here, consistent a little bit here. I think this is a great way to find out how real Arkansas is when they hit this defense, when they hit this wall. Like, is Acuff going to be able to fight through Uzan, Sharp, Flemings? The same thing for Thomas. Is Brazil going to be able to stand up to Tugler and Sinak and all that? Because this defense that Houston throws out there is still extremely, extremely good, and it's played the same way. I mean, they're not as good as they were last year where it was all world, but we've got a top 6 defense, top 10 defense, depending on where you look. And it's a very physical, take your legs out defense. This will be, if Arkansas wins this and they win this by a decent margin, I'm going to have a lot of apologizing to do, but I don't see them. I think Houston gets this, and I think Houston covers this. I know the line hasn't come out, but I would say it's going to be 4 to 5, maybe 6, and I think Houston wins this by double digits.
Yeah, I'm going to be cautious in saying this. Arkansas is playing better basketball right now. I think Houston might be the better team. I think Arkansas might be playing better basketball. Momentum is a real thing.
You go into that because the wins they've had is a Louisville game that Louisville played terrible, and they had a 20-point lead that they gave up, and still they won by 9. But then it had Texas Tech and nobody state Queens in there.
Yeah, and I don't even know how to feel about Texas Tech.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, that is my point. Is like, I don't know that they're playing the better basketball. I think they've just benefited from a lighter schedule. Because I mean, Houston's last few, they've like the Notre Dame game was confusing, but they destroyed everybody. Like, gave up 38 points to Jacksonville State and 57 while putting up 99 to New Orleans. And so I don't know that they're necessarily like. I'm just curious what your thought process is there.
No, it's like I just don't put any value in holding Jackson State to 38. I don't put any value in a 40-point win over New Orleans. I just don't. Florida State, the team where I thought they should have probably mollywopped, they beat by 15, and it wasn't like a foregone conclusion that game was over. Like, I think Florida State was like alligator blood through most of that game. Like, they hung close. Like, it's just like this Houston team that you're used to seeing, like, have some like pretty, what's the word I'm looking for? Like,
well, they used to strangle
resume wins. They
used to absolutely strangle everybody the last few years.
Yeah.
And it was slow and painful, and then they beat the crap out of you, and you felt good if you put up 60. It's not, they don't have that kind of defense right now.
If I'm looking at this and I want to tell you who Houston's best win is, it's a 1-point win over Auburn. And I don't know how to feel about Auburn right now.
That
fair point.
That's fair. I kind of
that's again. And now we're going to talk about this game because Jake, you and I will be there. Brad, you'll be there in spirit. The Indy Classic features Butler and Northwestern, which is a game that I'm really excited to watch. But the showcase here is Auburn and Purdue. Last year, Auburn and Purdue played, and obviously Auburn was a 1 seed in the tournament. Purdue got absolutely waxed. Purdue doesn't typically lose games in Indianapolis. They lost one last year because they just weren't that team that anybody had any real optimism about. Hey, I'm looking at this one. I think the matchup indicator had Purdue at 80. Is that what I
come down a
saw?
little bit. It's
Has
come
it?
down just a little bit.
It's 65. It's a 65%. I don't see Purdue having issues with this game unless they have a cold night shooting. But typically we shoot well at Gamebridge. I am predicting / hoping for a double-digit Purdue win here.
I think it's going to happen. I agree.
Jake, what are your thoughts?
I think Purdue's got this. I feel double digits can't happen because they won better point guard, but maybe not better player with Smith over Pettiford. So I think they're going to be able to control the pace, and Auburn kind of needs that hectic kind of pace. But and so I think that's where I think free throws are going to kind of extend it because that's one thing Purdue absolutely has for the most part. They've got incredible guards that can absolutely ice the game at the end of the game, and a 5-point win turns into 11 real quick because they don't miss free throws. But I'm interested to see in this Keyshawn Hall matchup because I think he puts an interesting matchup on, and that's what I got my eyes on Purdue because he's 6'7", so he's a little bit bigger, but he plays like a guard and he also rebounds big. And I'm not sure who Purdue has to check him on both ends. If he's playing more guard-like, I think he can pull the bigger and be a little more fast, a little quicker, a little faster than who you have the checking. But if you put your little smaller, faster guys on him, I think he can bully him. So I think it's going to be interesting. I mean, there's a reason the guy's averaging 20-plus points a night right now. He's a matchup nightmare for the most part with the way he's playing. And it's just going to be very interesting to see what Painter does and what he schemes up and how the help happens, leaving Pettiford. So it's going to be very interesting to see there.
Here's what I think is going to happen just based on what I know about Purdue. CJ Cox is going to guard Pettiford. I have to assume that Clough will be on Zuby, just matchup-wise. I don't know. Just looking at the roster, I don't know. Fletcher cannot guard Hall, and that would be just an absolute mistake. This might be a really good help side defense game from.
Yeah, maybe Benter steps up and can check him a little bit, but I don't know that he's strong enough for how Hall's playing. I could be wrong, because we haven't seen that much of Benter in a kind of highlight role, so it'd be interested to see how he handles that because he's 6'6" 6'5", 6'6", so he can kind of stay within height range, but I don't know if he's got everything he needs to keep. I mean, containing Hall, keeping him to 15 points would be a win, I think.
Yeah. I think this is a team that I think we're ultimately going to match up well against. I think we're just going to have trouble with Pettiford and Hall. I don't think this will be a big Zuby game. So, like I said, I do expect Purdue to win this, but again, this Purdue team is prone to slow starts.
So is Auburn.
Yeah, Auburn's prone to slow starts too. It's one of those where it's a big we'll see, I guess. I do think Purdue will win this by double digits.
Well, yeah, I'm with you there.
To kind of continue into another game that I feel like I've got a question to kind of loop in both of these together is Duke versus Texas Tech. Obviously, we have spoken kind of we've been down on Texas Tech, which I want to like Texas Tech. They just need to like themselves enough to play better. That's it. They're one of the more frustrating teams for me for this year so far. They should have a better record. 8-3 is terrible, but definitely could be in a better spot. But how do we feel about this Duke versus Texas Tech game? I think it has a chance to have a similar result as the Purdue and Auburn game. This is
going to be counterintuitive to what we've been saying all night with Texas Tech. I think this is a rough matchup for Duke. You've got JT Toppin, who can probably go shot for shot with Boozer on each end of the floor. And I think the guard play for Texas Tech defensively is going to give issues to Duke. But I don't know offensively if the guards are going to be holding up. If Texas Tech was playing at their potential, this would absolutely terrify me as a Duke fan. But I'm a little more confident that Duke wins the game, but I think it's going to be a lot tighter than people are expecting because I think the matchup predictors are at 85% for Duke to win. I don't know that I would be that confident.
Jake, I'm going to wholeheartedly agree with you on this one. as much as I like this Duke team, this is a matchup nightmare because, to your point, it's all going to come down to guards because JT's going to JT, Boozer's going to Boozer. I think this is going to come up to who else contributes. Does Anderson contribute more, or does Duke get some production out of your guards? I don't see Duke losing this one. I think Duke goes to 12-0. I think Texas Tech goes 8-4, and they have another quad one loss. But I think this Texas Tech team will give Duke fits. I think Texas Tech is going to be a matchup specific team, and I think that's what we're running into with these teams that are not named Michigan and Arizona right now. Is like get the right matchup, and a lot of these top teams can lose. Get the wrong matchup, and they'll blow them out of the water. But yeah, I think I'm with you. Duke wins this one, but I think if the spread was 9, I would take the under there.
I mean, the only reason, the biggest issue that Texas Tech's gonna have is they're running six guys, and Duke has more than that, like 8, 9 guys they can throw out there, and then they've got extra big bodies with Brown and Ngomba to kind of relieve Boozer because JT Toppin is only one guy and he can't cover both the big guys that they're going to run on the floor. And I think at times you may even see, maybe not this matchup, but later in the year where Duke runs Boozer, Ngomba, and Brown because of the way Boozer can step out and how Brown can guard all 5 positions, which I think that would be a very deadly rebounding lineup. But that's the issue Texas Tech is going to run into. I mean, like you can argue the Northern Colorado game, say, oh, that was look at, they're looking for New York and Duke, but you still can't give up 90 to Northern Colorado. Wouldn't feel good. And yeah, I just think this comes down to depth. And if the fouls go the wrong way, Texas Tech is in a world of trouble, which I hope the refs stay out of this because I want to see Boozer battle with Toppin because I think that is a world-class event to watch those two guys go at it. So let's hope and pray they stay out of it. But it's the depth that's going to burn Texas Tech. If we're looking at double, like 9.5 spread, I would probably take Texas Tech I'd go very light on it because if foul trouble hits somebody, that could get real ugly real quick. If it hits 2 people for Texas Tech, that gets real ugly. So if I'm Duke, I'm playing very aggressive and I'm going to the hole as much as I can, and I'm trying to draw fouls because I want to see what your 7, 8, 9 guys look like out there.
Yep, absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, you took my point. That's what I was going to say. I hope they let them play.
One other game that I think is worth mentioning here is Ohio State, North Carolina.
Completely agree. I think this would be a fly under the radar as one that if you're there for it, you're gonna be glad you're there watching it.
Fun fact: the matchup predictor has Ohio State at 52%.
No kidding.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a Bruce Thornton, Caleb Wilson showdown.
Yeah, I think without Trimble, there's not really an answer on North Carolina for Bruce Thornton. I mean, Thornton proved, what was that, Michigan State, where he just carried them throughout that whole game. I think you can see something similar. Ohio State has some big guys like with Tilly and that can get in the way of Caleb Wilson. And so I think there's a little bit more to Ohio State than there is North Carolina. But I mean, you never really truly know because if Thornton's cold, this game gets ugly for them real quick because I don't know how much defense Ohio State has if he's not playing well.
Has Thornton gone cold yet?
What?
Has Thornton gone cold yet?
No, but I mean, it's coming, right? Like nobody shoots that hot all year. Like even Curry has off nights. Like, come on, at some point it's coming. You just don't know when.
Yeah, exactly. 21 points right now. 21-point game.
I mean,
yeah. So he is currently shooting 60% from the floor, 86% from free throw line, and 50% from the 3-point line, averaging nearly 22 points a game. He has not gone cold.
No, he's not had an off night yet, but I mean, one's coming. You just hope and pray that it's against your team and not another night like he had at Michigan State where I think he dropped 40 on him on I think he missed like 5 shots. Like the dude was just hitting everything. But I don't know that there's an answer on North Carolina's team for Thornton, and I think they are big enough and long enough to make Wilson's day hard. Making him inefficient is is the game plan to beat Ohio State or North Carolina.
Also, this Memphis Vanderbilt game, 62-60. Vanderbilt 15.4 seconds left.
Yeah. So about that, I just watched Memphis run roughly 14 seconds off the clock on I have no idea what to settle for
a Penny Hardaway play, which is
Memphis Memphis.
Yeah, they went full Memphis. Now, a homeboy just missed a free throw for Vandy. So, assuming a make here, we've got a 3-point game with 15.4. He missed them both. Oh, my God. Hold on. Everybody stay tuned.
Take a quick pause and go check out winwearapparel.com unless you're watching this game.
Oh, my God. They just
Memphis.
tied it with 6.4. 6.4.
And he is getting through. Byington is losing.
Let's go to OT. Let's go to OT. Winwear apparel. Hey, don't be like Vandy. Don't be like Memphis. Win one with Winwear apparel.
That's right.
Golly,
Yeah.
Byington's got to be losing his mind. There's no reason this Memphis team should be in the game with him. But this was like, shout out if you watch Picture of the Professor talked about this. Like Vandy is a metrics darling right now, but they had played nobody.
Yeah.
And so this is interesting. How much do the metrics mean versus like playing tight schedule? Like, can you just fake the metrics if you play terrible teams and you do what you're supposed to against terrible teams? I don't know. And I mean, you're seeing Vandy struggle with Memphis. I also think Vandy's too talented for this Memphis team. But we'll see what happens here. Alabama tried to pull away, but South Florida right back there.
Yeah.
What's the score of that game?
49-52.
No kidding. I can't.
You're a step ahead of me. They're about 15 seconds ahead of me, Jake.
Sorry, didn't mean to spoil that one for you.
No, you're good.
It's been this far on the bench. You can see in the future, you know.
That's right.
Now, this is my level of obsession with college basketball. Is I've got the game on my phone here in this little corner in the laptop. I've got another game going, and then I've got on the TV. So I'm in bed right now. I've got the laptop propped up on a pillow. I've got this Vandy Memphis game on. Some might call it obsession. I call it obsession.
I'm fighting through the defense here to get this podcast done.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
I tell you whose career should be done, and that's Joel Klatt, because he's our bench behavior.
Dude.
This guy is a joke. I know he's a football guy, but still, you don't make comments this ain't on March Madness and not get called out by the bench by saying things like, March Madness is the dumbest tournament and the least fair tournament in all of sports. We don't want Cinderellas. We want the best teams playing each other at the end.
Yeah.
In the world is this guy talking about? Go home.
What's a football?
Even still, if you want to take basketball out of it, you know which game, I forget which the year it was, but everybody still remembers almost every play of the overtime of the Boise State game when they took out, was it Oklahoma, I think?
Oklahoma. The Statue of
Liberty, and they did all sorts of fake plays there at the end. Like that's the stories you talk about year in, year out. Or what, 2003 or 2007 when South Florida was ranked number 2 and then had a chance. Like everybody remembers those. Nobody remembers, unless you're a Georgia or Alabama fan, like, or Alabama, LSU, when those two absolute powerhouses of teams met. Like, nobody cares about that game enough to talk about it anymore. Like, from a fan's perspective, you want the Cinderellas because you want something to root for when your team's not there. You want to keep everybody interested. Now, is it the March Madness is the worst way to determine your best team? Yes, that's not the point anybody's ever argued saying the best team always wins in March. No, the hottest team wins in March. But there's a reason that takes over the world. Like it's like a World Cup type event. Everybody and your brother and their sister that's never seen basketball will fill out a bracket because it's fun, and everybody goes crazy when the 16 seed beats the 1 seed or the 12 seed beats the 5 seed or 15 over 2. Like everybody remembers those, especially if it's over like a powerhouse like Duke. I mean, everybody will bring up Mercer and Lehigh and forget about the 5 championships Coach K wins, but they want to bring up Mercer and Lehigh because they got upset in the first round there. Or like, many of them, MTSU over Michigan State, UMBC over Virginia. I mean, we were at the Wild Beaver. Do you remember? I remember exactly where I was standing at the Wild Beaver.
Yep.
When that happened, I was like, this is crazy. Like, that's the memorable stuff. So from a product standpoint, I don't know what he's thinking.
Yeah. The one thing he said that I even slightly agree with is if you made it like a World Cup format, that would be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what we agreed on, that would be a fantastic format for the players.
Yep.
I think the magic of March is, like, for me as a kid, I remember like being in school and like if you had a cool teacher, they put up on the TV some of the games that were on. I remember one of the first real jobs I got, like, I'm 42, so this would have been like 16 years ago. Like, I remember telling my boss at the time, it was like I'm a huge college basketball nut and all that stuff. And he's like, "Oh, take the first weekend off." And I never, ever thought to do that. Because, when in college, especially if you're there for a lot longer than you should be, it's just not something you really think about because you just do it. And that's become like my religious holiday every year for the last 16 years. Like it's almost a refusal to work. Like I popped into work last year and it was about a very, very serious matter. And I remember like talking to my boss and the president of our company, and then looking down at my watch and was like, "Hey, I know this is serious. We got to wrap this up.
Yeah.
I'm not supposed to be here." The tournament is a very magical event. Appreciate your take, bud. However, it's pretty garbage. You said it was hot. Nah, it's hot garbage. This is dumpster fire hot garbage. Do not mess with March. You can pry it from my cold, dead hands.
Preach. Yeah, that was a crazy comment. He's just bitter because I guess he was. I didn't even hear this part. Was he? Was it more about the bowl games being irrelevant?
I don't know. We're giving him exactly what he wants right now. He just wanted it was rage bait stuff, and he just happened to hit on the nerve that I can't be quiet about. This is just maddening to anybody has this thought run through their head like, hey, let's ruin the most perfect product ever and change it into something that, like, I mean, I know the World Cup is big, but that's because it happens once every 4 years. If the World Cup happened every year, it would not be as big because you would end up with the same lame teams playing in the whatever they call it knockout stage because they can't call it a tournament because soccer's stupid. It's like the fact that happens every year and is one of the top sporting events every year, then leads right into the Masters. It's just incredible. So we don't need to touch it at all. It's perfect. Let's not expand it. Let's not do anything. Let's just leave it the way it is and let these small teams have chances.
Yeah.
Well, and Doug Shows has had another review. So this is his second review in the past, I believe, less than 10 minutes. He's had 2 reviews here in the game, which is no shocking surprise. It's also no surprise that coach has given us the side eye, and I think it's about time for us to go and do the dirty work here for this game.
Catch y'all next blowout.
Yeah. I apologize. I'm completely out of it because I'm watching this Memphis Mandy